Born on April 27, 1967, in the ancient kingdom of Oyo in southwest Nigeria, Dele Farotimi's early life was spent in that serene city till he moved to Lagos State, where he obtained a law degree from the State University where he studied law and was called to the bar in 1999. His political teeth were sharpened during his days at the Lagos State University. His political trajectory in the university culminated with his election as a students' union president in the 1994-95 academic session. Since then, his advocacy for social justice and a better deal for the oppressed has remained steady. Dele is a political activist, revolutionary thinker, radical lawyer, and author. His pedagogical dissection of the Nigerian situation has been brilliantly captured in many of his thought-provoking books, among which are Do Not Die in Their War and Imperatives of the Nigerian Revolution. Since then, his advocacy for social justice and a better deal for the oppressed in Nigeria has not abated. Other books authored by Dele Farotimi include Politics of Power and the Moral Imperative, The 5G Squirrels, Moses Almost Emerged Today, among others. His pursuit of social justice brought him to the forefront of the obedient movement. He explained it in his own words.
I cannot look beyond an Igbo candidate in this race, and thanks to God, there is an eminently qualified Igbo candidate in this race, and that is the person I will be supporting.
That's Peter Obi.
Yes, to be precise, that's the person I will be supporting in the coming election.
He also served as a spokesperson in the Obi Dati Presidential Campaign Council. Unafraid to toe the unpopular paths, Dele's voice has remained unwavering on topical issues like restructuring and NSARS. He insists that agitations arise from a place of genuine grievance and that the Nigerian government only responds to these grievances when they're extremely expressed.
You cannot aggregate people's rights and expect that you will find expression for their grievances. All you will find is that you are providing avenues for those who trade in grievances.
Speaking on the NSAS memorial a year later, Dele, who had earlier rejected the Lagos State Governor's invitation for a peace walk, blamed the continuing rot in the police force on political leaders.
The Nigerian police is deliberately staffed so that they are able to keep it on leash and make it complicit in the serial crimes of those who rule us.
Dele Farotimi has been a consistent voice for all oppressed people in Nigeria. He believes strongly in the revolutionary imperative to upturn the crass corruption that has characterized the Nigerian political landscape and institutes a system where leaders will serve on the basis of the principles of accountability, transparency, equity, and justice. This has been a common thread that runs through all his political treatises. His conviction is simple and clearly expressed on his pinned post on Twitter. It reads, "My grave matters more to me than my bed. I can always lay my bed or have it laid for me. I have no say as to my grave, and it matters more to me than my bed. I will die happily, knowing that I never betrayed my purpose. Take it to the bank."
Hello. Good morning. This morning, Ghanaian president accepted the resignation of Sanitation and Water Resources Minister Cecilia Dapper. The minister resigned following public outcry over huge sums of money discovered at her home in the capital, Accra. Two of her domestic staff were accused of stealing and stashing more than $1 million in cash, 300,000 euros, and several million Ghanaian cedis, as well as some personal items. The disclosure has caused uproar in Ghana. Many wondered how a minister could have such vast sums in her home. MPs have called for an investigation to verify the source of the money. I intend to cooperate fully with all state agencies to enable them fully establish the facts, says Mrs. Dape. Meanwhile, in Nigeria, a former governor seen on video stashing envelopes full of dollar bills, bribe money he got from a contractor, is still free, angling to be a minister under Bola Tinubu's administration, or at least the chairman of the ruling political party, the APC. All through last week, police in Kenya used tear gas to disperse protesters in the poorest parts of the capital, Nairobi, and at some opposition strongholds in Kisumu. The three-day protests were against tax increases and rising living costs. Over 6 protesters died, and more than 300 people were arrested. Police also detained members of parliament who joined the protest. The main opposition leader, Raila Odinga, who urged millions of his followers to protest against levies on petrol and housing introduced last month, said he could not join because he was under the weather. He plans to join future protests. In Kibare, protester Duncan Otek told the BBC that President Ruto must bring down the cost of flour or he should quit. It is 4:30 p.m. in Lagos, Nigeria, 6:30 p.m. in Nairobi, Kenya, 5:30 p.m. in Cairo, Egypt, 5:30 p.m. in Johannesburg, South Africa, 11:30 a.m. in New York City. Wherever in the world you are joining us, welcome to another episode of 90 Minutes Africa. My name is Rudolph Okonkwo. My co-host, Chido Onoma, is on assignment. On our show today is Dele Farotimi. He's a lawyer, a political commentator, and the author of Do Not Die in Their War, Imperatives of the Nigerian Revolution, and many other books. He was one of the spokespersons of the Peter Obi Dati Baba Ahmed presidential campaign in the February 25th presidential election. Dele Farotimi will update us on the happenings at the presidential election petition court, what permanent transformations Peter Obi has brought to Nigeria's politics, and whether the Labour Party is preparing for a rerun election sometime this year. Welcome to the show, Dele.
Good afternoon, Rudolph. I know it's morning at your end. I was a little too eager to greet you. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much for joining us. It's always an honor to have you.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
And I must, I'm sorry to cut in again, but I must, with all sense of humility, thank you. You drew tears from my eyes with the intro you offered, because sometimes we do the things we do without understanding exactly. Anyway, I don't do it waiting for anyone to clap or to boo. I don't care either way. I do what I do out of conviction. But to have someone put together such glowing tribute, it gives me an idea of what I expect to be said when the bell shall toll for me, hopefully in my old age. You've given me an idea of what I might expect. What you cannot take for granted is that I'll stay the course. Take that for granted.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm on board. Thank you.
Sometimes, let me just go off script. Sometimes we do these things we do. We appreciate people like you who are consistent and who are basically doing this for the betterment of others. We do. And we don't have time to do this. But I decided on this show that once in a while, when I see someone I know has contributed a lot, that we give credit to them. That doesn't stop us from questioning them in a way that we want to get more information needed for our people. But we thank you. We thank you for what you have done. Okay, so let me start with, I saw in the news that we showed there what is happening in Kenya. But let's start from Ghana, because this is an Africa-wide show. In Ghana today, the Minister for Sanitation resigned because they found money in her home in Accra, $1 million, 300,000 euro, and some other millions of cedis, and vehicles that she bought, her domestic staff bought. So she resigned, and the president accepted the resignation. A lot of Nigerians, if you look at social media, the comments is, when will something like this happen in Nigeria?
Well, Rudolph, I'm sorry, I'm going to do a quick correction. I've been given a lot of credit that do not belong to me. I've authored 2 books, but I have probably about 200 to 400 essays. The reason all those titles you quoted, they are titles for essays that I have had published, but I've never bothered to compile them. I probably have enough for about 10 books if I'll put them together, but they're all available for free. That's to deal with that question. Now, to answer your question, I have said very often, everywhere I've talked about Nigeria, I've made clear that there is a fundamental problem with the Nigerian state. It is a country that exists without citizens. And it is so because the law does not rule in Nigeria. And because the law does not rule in Nigeria, the citizens are just generally, citizens now are just generally subjects. So you have multiple layers of citizenship. Because you've asked the question in relation to Nigeria, I'll deal with Nigeria before going on to speak to the Ghanaian aspect of it. I recall that when the imp of Edo State, I'm speaking particularly of Oshiomhole, he was specific when he was the chairman of the APC. He said, join the APC and your sins will be forgiven. We tend to gloss over the things that they tell us in the public space. We ignore it. Instead of taking them serious, we ignore them. And I've said very often that these people are by far more meticulous than we've given them credit for. He said so in the open. So because this man has told you and you have found factual basis for what he has said, Akpabio was facing, I believe, 46 counts for stealing. He was being prosecuted as a thief, which is what he is. But Buhari, the one who called himself the Pope of Anti-Corruption, plugged him from there and made him a minister in Nigeria. And sane men clapped. They applauded the saint of Daura. The man institutionalized the reign of impunity, the point where the law exists for some people, but some people cannot be kept below the law. They can only exist above the law. That is why we can't talk about Idisirika. We have normalized evil. But let me see, I haven't dealt with that because it's a whole huge issue on its own. And if I begin to deal with the deodorization of evil that has taken place in our country with accomplices in the clergy, pastors, imams, those who come out to speak against societal ills, who are themselves part and parcel of the ills, helping to deodorize evil and to normalize the madness. So in Nigeria, you cannot have any such outrage, such as the one you are seeing in Ghana. In Nigeria, they would have told you, he's our son. Oh, he's a Christian. Or no, he's a Muslim. Oh, he is from my ethnic nationality. And is he your own money? Is it that they are thief or is our thief? That is the way we deal with these issues in Nigeria. I'm not suggesting that that is the way it should be, but because of the way you have asked the question. So that question, you can't bring that Ghanaian context of understanding of the issue into the Nigerian situation. You are seeking to compare apple and pineapple. The Ghanaian society has not been lost to abnormalities. It hasn't become amoral. Ghanaians have not become amoral. They still have a sense of revulsion. They still understand that they are citizens. They expect the law to apply equally to all. They have not normalized evil to the point where they have become numb. The Nigerian has become numb. We've become excusers of evil. Even from the pulpit, you hear pastors preaching in normalization of evil. You hear imams rationalizing evil because the other person is Muslim, woman. So at the end of the day, there are two different situations. To now speak specifically to the Ghanaians, the problem with accepting or becoming accepting of evil is that you become deadened to its effect on society, and then everybody become acculturated to evil, just the way we have become acculturated to evil in Nigeria. The longer you tolerate evil, the more you become like the child or the man or the woman who is spraying perfume. And then he stops smelling it because his senses have been deadened by proximity to the particular fragrance. He then thinks he's not, I don't have enough perfume on me. I can't smell my perfume. So he brings out the bottle again. He sprays some more. But it becomes offensive to everybody, just as we Nigerians, unfortunately, not as individuals, but as a collective, we become a reproach. The Ghanaians must not allow this to sail. And Nigerians must find a way to refuse to accept this to continue. But there are two different situations. One society has become acculturated to evil. The other is just beginning. But it will be lying to itself if it imagines that evil is not already resident amongst them. This is how it's not just starting, but this is how you discover, and you either treat the cancer or it festers.
Thank you. The other story out of Africa that we mentioned at the beginning was what happened in Kenya last week. People were on the streets protesting, especially the very poor, because of increases in taxes and in cost of living.
Yeah. Rudolph, I salute every strata of Kenyan society, from his government to his law enforcement agencies to the citizens themselves and the opposition party. Government must exist for the greatest good of the greatest number. Politics is about disagreement, and protest is the inalienable right. The right to protest is the inalienable right of citizens in democracies. I do not know the local circumstances of the Kenyans, but obviously the people are protesting against the economic policies of the government. But that is what politics is about. The opposition party is supporting the people who are calling for protest. That is what politics is about. It is about contestation of ideas. We might agree on a policy position, but disagree on the funding of the position. We might disagree on the policy instrument by which we would achieve the strategic objective over which we have agreed. Kenyans are exercising their rights as citizens. The government has a duty to explain to the people why they have to pay those prices if those prices must be paid. The opposition that is seeking to exploit the discontent must move beyond the sloganeering to also offer alternative policies with which it too might run in the coming election. That is the beauty of democracy. But because I'm here in Nigeria, and you are there in beautiful America, I wish my situation can be as straightforward as the Kenyan situation. But I am thankful to the current occupant and that is sat in inside the rock at Aso. My Yoruba people have a proverb. They say, "Kari ki to gbon." That means that when suffering has not been democratized, it is almost impossible to find the consensus for resistance. Because now the suffering is going around sufficiently. Whether you are a Yoruba that is Ronui or a Yoruba that has Ponu, whether you are normally a normal, whether you are Yachukudi or you are Damberibe, whatever you might care to be, everybody is chopping the breakfast in Nigeria currently, and I am hoping that in the coming days, we will find the capacity to speak in much the same way as the Kenyans are speaking. Because if we do not find the commonalities of our affliction behind which to unite ourselves, the Nigerian political class are systematically enslaving us, and our situation is already worse than that of either the Ghanaians who are bleating, sorry to use the word, over pittances. Because those are pittances. The children of any one of the miscreants ruining Nigeria will spend that money or probably have it underneath his bed or so in the trunk of one car or the other. It is no big deal in our own space. It's an everyday thing. That's more of this chicken feed. And for the Kenyans, that they can even protest without having scores of people murdered in daylight by security agents. Oh, I'm sorry. I think they reserve their brutality for the like of MNK when they kidnap them to send them to Nigeria. Because ordinarily, if those were Nigerian policemen, there will be concealed dead bodies that they will be denying their existence by now. So that's as far as I can speak to the Ghanaian and the Kenyan situation.
All right, thank you. I know that we have limited time with you today, so I'll be quick and get some questions through before you go. I looked at the headlines of today's newspapers in Nigeria, even yesterday. This is some of the headlines. APC used me, says Mr. Jollof. I don't know if you know him. Christian Association of Nigeria, they said your policies inflicting hardship on Nigerians. They were talking to Bola Tinubu. The governor of Kaduna State, Governor Oba Sani, said that 8,000 naira cash transfer is a scam. And of course, from Gani Adams, he said that Nigerians did not bargain for current hardship. What do you think is going on? It appears as if a lot of people are getting something that they did not expect. What is your take on that?
Well, let me first of all confess something. I don't read our newspapers. No, I mean, that's not. I know not every journalist in the print media is corrupt. I know that. I can say that for free. But for anyone who still relies on the Nigerian print media as their news source, is essentially buying purchased news. Is being fed a diet of lies, propaganda. So I don't read them. But I live in this environment as well. And to deal with those headlines on a daily basis deaden one's brain. I don't need the governor of Kaduna State to tell me that the money transfer is a scam. Since when Baba Alajo, General of Nigeria, Professor Oshibajo, was busy going around the country with cash, we had said since then that it was a lie. Then they brought the ministers of disaster, that one that was, if they tag Ezani as a crook, that one is bent. She has multiple bends, crisscross all over her. That was the one that so I don't need the governor of Kaduna State to tell me what I already know. It does not. I don't. In fact, insult the level of insults to which the Nigerian is subjected, and is that news? It's not. There is nothing about everything about the Nigerian government is fraudulent. Everything. from top to bottom is about the system, the idea that governs the creation of the system that governs the country and that informs the policies that are made on a daily basis. So, my brother, let's run away from current affairs as it relates to Nigeria because it amounts to peeling scabs. One constantly in fact, it's worse than scabs. It's like you're self-arming yourself, slashing yourself with blades. Nigeria is sick right now. We, the people who are the victims, are the ones who will need to get around to finding the commonalities of our afflictions and understanding that we need to move. We can't keep reacting. We can't. It is already done. All these things that they are saying, there is nothing new to it. Nothing. Where is this Erika? Where is the Accountant General of the Federation? Toxic fuel. They commissioned a project that is still 2 years or so away from. So it's
I can feel your frustration, and most Nigerians are also frustrated. I'll give an example. There's a story in People's Gazette about one Awilo from Ondo State. He called a radio station and he was crying, essentially saying that this is not what we voted for. That we did not expect this level of hardship.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Rudolph. I'm sorry to interrupt you. When people say this is not what we voted for, there is an intrinsic lie in that statement. It is suggestive of a scenario where we actually voted for the career criminal that is currently ensconced in the presidential office. We didn't vote for him. Everything in the public domain makes it clear that this guy did not win the election. He's running an illegitimate government and has no business sat in that office. That is the reality. Anything beyond that is a lie. So when people now say that they're having buyer's remorse, they will say that because they voted for him. And that's fine. He has now revealed himself to them. They can have their buyer's remorse. But what about those of us who not only did not vote for him, we knew all along that this man was going to be evil and that he's bad for everybody. And we warned everyone. And people listened. They fought to make sure he did not emerge. And this man has proceeded to force himself into the office, and he is proceeding to corrupt every strata of that same society. So if some people are having buyer's remorse, they can discuss their buyer's remorse. I'm actually not too keen. So somebody said he was misled. They defrauded him into supporting APC. Look, for anyone to have supported Bola Ahmed Tinubu, or if I may correct myself, for anyone to have supported the man labeled as Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the person is prima facie either stupid or evil. They have to decide which one they are because the man has sufficiently introduced himself. You do not know his parentage. You don't know his schooling. You know nothing about his past. You know the name he's claiming is not his name. So when you have that kind of person elevated to the highest office in the country, how can you talk about Ganduje? How? When you cook jollof rice, the best of the ingredient goes to the bottom of the pot. The bottom of the pot are the ones that are governing our country. Bottom pot. The bottom pot of Nigerian evil have risen to the top of Nigerian offices. The Senate president is a crook. The president is a crook. Who is it in that place that is governing Nigeria today that is not essentially a crook? Who? A state that kills and denies his complicity in his own murder, in the murder of those who should be citizens and protected by it, and uses state machinery to cover up the fact of his complicity in the murder of his own people. Is that a country? Is that a state? Is that the place where we begin to talk about some idiots who sold their consciences and they are now having buyer's remorse? Everybody are going to eat this breakfast. My hope is that the breakfast everybody is going to eat would unite us as a people so that we stop all this stupid quibbling about tribes, about ethnicity, about religion, about nonsense. The people who are busy enslaving all of us, they don't quarrel about anything. They are united. They can quarrel about sharing it. How many people have shouted amongst the people who went to the National Assembly? How many have come out to complain that they have voted too much money to themselves? Not one, at least to my own knowledge. So why do we, the people, continue to divide ourselves and then strengthen the chains binding us? We divide ourselves. Oh, is this, is that, is Yoruba, is Igbo, is this? That nonsense. So sorry if I don't get excited about the rumors of idiots who you went and bought yourself vulture. You thought you bought turkey. Nonsense.
Yeah, there's one other question similar to this that I want you to just address, because people are still saying, there are people who, we do this every week and we hear people say several things. One of them is that people are still saying now that, oh, we want to wait until he appoints his ministers. We see whether
They are fools. They are fools. They are fools. They are complete idiots. And I have no apologies for saying that. If I was on a TV station, I'd moderate myself so that the NBC will not go and find them. But this is me and you chatting as far as I'm concerned. How many other persons might care to watch or be watching now does not matter. But here is the thing. A sentient being has memory. What is it about the APC as a collective? The Nigerian political ruiners as a class, what is it about them that would inspire anybody into believing that the worst that could have become the president of Nigeria, a career criminal, is the one that will now appoint those who will lift those that he has helped to enslave out of their enslavement? What kind of fools are those ones? Just like I saw a bunch of morons praying to God that he should do one thing or the other for them. What kind of people do that? And I hope Ghanaians know that if they dare to tolerate the nonsense that is just imagined in the open in their country, this is what they will become in the future as well. Morons looking to justify enslavement instead of challenging it. Who is Tinubu going to bring out that is going? What are they going to do? It is about the idea that undergets a governing system. The idea. These are not people who care about the average Nigerian. Fela sang maybe like 25, 30 years ago. There is one of Fela's track. I generally refer to it as Alaji Alaji, but I think it's Movement Against Second Slavery. I believe that's the actual title of the song. Fela pointed out the fact that those who are ruling us are not related to us. They are strangers. Alaji Alajis. These people, their homes are not in Nigeria. If Nigeria dagbow tomorrow, they are gone. They are gone. Their doctors are not in Nigeria. Is that bad? If they have common cold, they are flying to England. They are off to Dubai. They might go to Khartoum before Khartoum scattered the way it has scattered now. They might go to Jeddah. They don't do anything in Nigeria. They go to Cairo to see their dentists. Their children don't go to school in Nigeria. And then idiots who are the actual victims, they allow themselves to be divided by the people who are the beneficiaries of the ruination of their own country. Please, let nobody fool himself. Nothing good can come out of these people because look, it's not only in Nigeria that people steal. Government officials in Nigeria are not unique. Even in the America where you are at, they steal. Government officials steal. I remember the governor of Massachusetts. I remember he was sent to jail. Some black goldfish jig or something like that. Some bad.
Yeah, Illinois.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I remember there was this British general. They recalled him from retirement to come and face a court martial because he drew 50,000 pounds more than he was entitled to in child education benefit. They called him back and they court-martialed him, stripped him of his rank and sent him to jail. 50,000 pounds. The same British How many of the thieves ruling Nigeria have homes in their country, have bank accounts, have residencies, have citizenships? So Nigerians are the ones who need to quickly understand that the governing system is not designed to work for them. It's designed to extract value out of Nigeria for the strangers who pretend to rule Nigeria whilst they are ruining it. And to cover their tracks, they don't mind plunging the country into war because they don't live there. They live everywhere but Nigeria. So the people of Nigeria are the ones who need to come to grip with the knowledge that the people ruling us are not interested in us. They are not Nigerians. So anyone waiting for some stupid list is a fool.
All right, let's go to the tribunal, the case in court. How is it going? People are interested in what you have to say.
Rudolph. You want to put your hand in my mouth? Well,
No, that's what.
don't worry. Don't worry. I'm not constrained like other lawyers. I'm not constrained.
You're retired.
I am fully retired. That's been a fact for the last 5 years. I am fully retired. So it's not, I'm not stopped from expressing my opinion. But let me just put it this way. The Nigerian judiciary is peopled by Nigerians, like me and you. Some of the best and most brilliant are in the judiciary. But there is also something that we need to understand quickly. If the Nigerian judiciary is Nigerian, then it means that it is as Nigerian as the Nigerian custom, is as Nigerian as the Nigerian police. It is as Nigerian as everything Nigerian. It is as Nigerian as me and you. So if we take that as a given, we should then know that it becomes dangerous and dangerously stupid to imagine that it is free of the impunity and the corruption that pervades and permeates every aspect of our society. That is the truth. I'm on record, and I've said it without hesitation, that even our CJN is completely corrupt. Either he's completely corrupt, irredeemably so, or he's unbelievably incompetent. He has to decide which one it is. And I cited the basis for my position, and it is a Gbadamoshi Eletu case. I wasn't reticent about citing the basis for my position. He knows it, I know it. Every lawyer who bothers to read that case or who are familiar with the fact of that case, they know it. Every judge every member of every justice of the Supreme Court that sat on the second panel of that case is irredeemably corrupt or incompetent. That's a categorical statement for which I have no apologies. And I have said so variously. So if you now have a question that asks me to express hope based on to express faith or belief in the Nigerian judiciary, it will be counterintuitive for me to do so. There is nothing about the Nigerian judiciary that separates it from what afflicts the entire country. Yorubas will say that what afflicts one afflicts all. So the Nigerian judiciary is not in some way insulated from the madness that has overtaken our country. However, there is always a remnant. Always a remnant. It might very well be that some of them might find the grace to discover their consciences if they had lost it before. It's not impossible. I was in court on the day the APC closed its case, and Chief Wole Olanipekun stood up in court to commiserate with the justices over the death of one of their brothers, I believe one of the justices of the Court of Appeal. And I found it quite striking because I looked at the justices sat on their pedestal, and I realized that none of them is younger than me. They're all probably my age or older, much older. I'm 55 now. I know that my time is almost spent, just like all of us. We blink and we are old. A friend remarked the other day that I have a lot more gray on my head than he's ever seen. I said, yes, that's a function of age. All of a sudden, the grays on my head have remembered that they need to run and catch up. So these justices will not live forever. They have the opportunity to decide how they wish to be remembered by history. I sat down here, you spent all of 3 minutes, and you had me all tearing up in front of your camera. My belief and my own challenge is to make sure that I do not do anything to fall short of the standard that you have lifted me to by your introduction. It is up to those 5 men, 4 men, and I think a woman, to decide how history shall remember them. But there was nothing that happened that we Nigerians are unaware of. We already know the truth. They know the truth. The question is, would the truth set them free, or would the truth entrap them? What they say does not matter. It is the judgment and verdict of history on each and every one of us that counts the most. But the truth is inviolate. We all know what happened that day. The career criminal sat in that office did not win. It didn't win power. We all know it.
All right. Next question will be about what you think that will be accomplished so far at this point, how he transformed the Nigerian politics, which is the main subject why we brought you here. But before then, let me bring Kendibe, Professor Kendibe. He had to go somewhere, but he wanted to have a chance to ask your question. So let me bring him on. Okay, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah, we can hear
Loud
you.
and clear. Good afternoon, sir.
Dele, first of all, my very deep admiration. I sort of got to know about you a few years ago, and I must say that the constancy and consistency of your ethical commitment has been a breath of fresh air. In a country where ethics, morality are up for grabs and for sale to the highest bidder. So thank you very much. You really give hope to a lot of people, and you bring a lot of clarity in these muddled times. So I was just listening to your take. I was at a party last night, a gathering of Nigerians, and we were all sort of x-raying the way that the legal case at the presidential tribunal has gone. And so the ultimate conclusion was that the APC and INEC did not cover themselves in golden colors, but that regardless of this, regardless of the strength of the petition before the courts, that everybody expects the justices to just move on, do the wrong thing, and just, in a sense, validate impunity and fraud. And so as I listened to you and you spoke about the fact that ultimately it's a verdict of history, it's a chastening conclusion, because ultimately that's what it's about, right? It's quite chastening, but of course one wishes that we came from a country where points of law should predict outcome, in which case we should know what the outcome would be. So everybody that I've spoken to fully expects that at least a majority, a plurality of the justices are going to, even if there are 1 or 2 dissenters, are going to do the wrong thing to uphold fraud. So my question for you is, ultimately, what is it that sustains you? What is it that should sustain Nigerians in the face of this drama of doing the wrong thing. And because, for some people, I think that I'm not sure that somebody like Tinubu worries about how history remembers him, and I think that ultimately the justices who do the wrong thing don't worry. They want to go to Dubai, buy some big mansions. If they can make it to North America, buy themselves big mansions, drive, live in palatial homes, and so on and so forth. So I'm just wondering, is there any hope for our country, and where does it lie in your view? It's a very tortured way of getting to my question, but it's your analysis is impeccable. That ultimately it's how do these men and women who are on the bench want to be remembered by history? But in a country where history doesn't count, is there any other um, do we have any other kind of purchase on the situation now?
Okay.
Thank you.
Prof, it's indeed a great honor to have you speak so glowingly of me. I am very grateful, sir. Thank you. You are most kind. You're someone I have read for years, and I have a lot of respect for your work. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. I have two questions as far as I can see. What has be done to affect the Nigerian political landscape? And then the second is the one that Prof has asked in many ways.
Mhm.
And I would answer, what sustains me? The belief that regardless of how long it takes, the truth will always win.
Mhm.
I
Yes.
have not found a single instance in human history
Yes.
where the truth has lost.
Mhm.
Yorubas have a proverb. They say, Otitolo maleke iro. It's such a simple sentence,
Mhm.
simplistic almost in its ramifications, but it is a truth that cannot be impeached. Our proverbs are essentially, they are more spiritual than didactic. And when you say Otitoluma Lekero, it says the truth shall prevail. That's what you have said. The truth shall prevail. It's not about always or sometime prevail. It's about it shall prevail. I recall when the NSAS massacre happened and the government went to town with its dissemblers, the lies, the propagandas, the deniers, and labeled people, handed some into exile, concealed evidence. I remember, and some of you will recall, that I came into the public space and I said that as long as the tribunal is allowed to do its work, we ensure that the Nigerian government is stripped naked in the public space. Nobody is in a position to deny what happened with NSAS any longer. That is so, in spite of the fact that 7 members, or I believe maybe 7 or 8 members of the tribunal, were all nominated by government. That panel still delivered a unanimous decision, a finding of fact that there was a massacre. The same government that was denying the existence of massacre had been busy paying cash in compensation to victims. I will not speak to the veracity of the document that is currently flying around because I don't know whether it's true yet. But these are the same people who have told us that nobody died. That is a lie. So now, when you now bring this to bear on the question of our electoral petition tribunal, let me say this, sir. Sometimes the truth might appear to lose, but that's only temporary. The person standing on top of the truth is a mortal. He must die if he does not tire of standing on top of it. He must die. The truth upon which he's standing is immortal. It cannot die. If these justices would find the grace to say that white is black, it does not change the fact that white is white. They are merely writing down how they wish to be remembered by history. The conscientious refusal of some of us to deodorize the lie stands in rebuke against their lives, because lies cannot sustain themselves, but the truth is self-sustaining. The self-sustainability of truth is why it cannot be defeated. So my own abiding faith and belief in the immortal nature of truth makes it impossible for me to despair, even in the face of the putrefaction that has come to define our country and our judiciary. My own is that it is up to them to decide. We won't forget. The time when people used to forget is gone. We will not forget. Let them not even think that this system will always win. This system is dead, is in its death throes. This system is found on a bad idea. It is not found on the idea of citizenship. It is found on a bad idea. That is the kind of idea that we think it is fine to allocate 70 billion to less than 500 people, and then 48,000 to 12 million households, 48,000 each to 12 million. That's 8,000 naira a month for 6 months. And then what? What happens thereafter? But you could allocate to yourself, in addition to what you are already earning that is completely opaque. Even the determination of the 12 million household, only you know how you came about it. Just like they were feeding people at home during COVID. So you have a situation where this system, some of us have made up our minds. We have no guns to carry. We won't leave this country for them. We are not going anywhere. I have not trained my children to live outside Nigeria, and I'm not leaving. I will not leave. But we will also not normalize their evil by keeping quiet. And those who had found peace with their consciences, we will continue to make sure that they cannot find peace with their conscience by refusing to keep quiet. So, as long as we refuse to normalize evil, evil cannot win, because the truth cannot be defeated. To now deal with the question of what has Obi done in the public space to change Nigerian politics, let me put it this way. Obi is the first Nigerian politician to make it clear to the Nigerian people in the last 24 years that they are the most important piece in nation building. Other people have attempted in different ways, but they might have been swallowed up by different reasons or might be obscured by different things. But what happened with Peter Obi was that the man came at the right time. He was the right man, but the time was also ready for him. Time will not allow me to deal with all the reasons why he was the right man, but I'll deal with some of them and then explain how it has affected the political landscape. Peter Obi comes from the disadvantaged, institutionally disadvantaged. Those the Nigerian state have used as the proving ground for his many evils against the people of Nigeria. Those are the people from whom Peter Obi came, the Igbos. The Igbo people of Nigeria have been the proving ground for every one of Nigeria's evils, until they have experimented and completed his usage against the Igbos, normalized it by using the hatred of other nationalities against the Igbos to normalize that evil, and then begin to extend the same evil beyond the ethnic line into class line, because it was always about class. It was never about ethnicity. But it was hidden behind ethnicity because it found acceptance in a larger pool of humanity. So, a member of the institutionally disadvantaged rose as a champion of all, because every Nigerian have become marginalized and disadvantaged by Nigeria. So, His candidacy found resonance in those we had earlier referred to as the North, as though they do not exist as humanity. The people of Kaduna, Southern Kaduna, the Bauchi people who had long been silenced and who had lost their voices. The people of Borno, vast parts of Borno, parts of the Plateau, Nasarawa, Taraba, Benue, places that were once blithely referred to as though they had they didn't have identity. And then it came at a time when the hubris of the Nigerian ruining crash had led it to believe that the politicization of religion had been matured to the point where they could blithely declare that Muslim ticket is the way to go. They aroused the passions of those for whom religion was a matter of ethnic identity, the Northern Muslims. Religion is not just religion for the Northern Muslim because it is rooted in their history. Those who used to be the slave stock of the Fulani conquerors of Northern Nigeria, who were not governed but left alone so that they might not become impossible to enslave. Because in Islamic jurisprudence, if you conquer a people, you Islamize them. If you Islamize them, you cannot enslave them. The Fulanis ignored to conquer, built garrisons around vast part of what you call Middle Belt today, and used those garrisons as raiding points for slaves, which fed the empire that arose after the jihad. And that also fed the Kanem Borno Empire itself, even though it predated the jihad. Slave trading went to a new level and it became systemized. Up till today, the records for slave trading in the Kano Emirate. Sanusi himself said so. Records dating back like 200. So let's be clear about something. What Peter Obi did was that he came at the right time. He came at a moment in time when the hubris of the Islamists had exposed them and made it possible for those who had lost their voices to find their voice. So Peter Obi, by divine orchestration, became the champion of the victimized Nigerians, those whose voices had hitherto been lost. So a coalition of Nigerians disadvantaged, Nigerians oppressed, the hopeless, a motley crew of those Nigeria had forgotten, came together and rallied around this candidacy. And to make matters even more interesting, the man is himself an uncommon politician, because how many Nigerian politicians can come out into the open and say that, probe me, you find one thing. Propaganda that anybody might throw around. How come nobody has managed to trace one of those cobbles into his pocket? So, I'm not a saint. I don't expect to find a saint on this part of life. Maybe by the time we've translated. I'm no saint. I do a lot of things I shouldn't be doing, but I don't steal anybody's money. I don't know what else Peter Obi does or does not do. I don't know who he is in his personal space. But the man has proven in his public space that he can be trusted. And Nigerians saw that and gravitated towards it. You cannot say the same for any other member of the Nigerian ruining class. His enemies succeeded him in office as governor. His enemies. He even enthroned one himself with his own hand. Willie the drunk. What has happened? How many of them have brought out anything to stick on him, like stealing? How many? Let me tell you why Lagos became as desperate as it became on March 18th. The level of stealing and malfeasance that has become institutionalized in Lagos State for the last 24 years. If another government should take over power in Lagos State, many people will go to prison. They will rot in jail. Peter Obi spent 8 years in office as governor. He has been succeeded in office by 2 governors, none of whom have any reason, political or personal, to cover him. Nobody has come out. So let people shut up already about any silly agitations or lies about he did this, he did that. I'm sure he's not a saint, and I'm not his pastor, and I'm not looking to crown a pope. It's not my business. What he has done is that he has awakened the people. The genie is out of the bottle already. The Nigerian people have come to understand the powers they have. If the Nigerian state would have to go to the extent that it had to go to install this fraudulent gate in office, the people know their power already. So if that is all that Peter Obi has done, and before election I told someone, Peter Obi is like the stick, the rod that you use to kill a snake. Whether the rod survives the ordeal or not does not concern you. The purpose of the rod is the destruction and death of the snake. Peter Obi has surpassed and exceeded his purpose already. He has awakened the people. I now know the power that they have. What we do with where we are going forward is on us. There are no Voltrons anywhere. He has served his purpose and he's still serving his purpose by remaining steadfast in the cause of this pursuit of justice. I'm sure they would have offered him 1,001 incentives to abandon this, and I'm aware they did. And the man has stood steadfast. Let me quote him in one of his retorts to one of the bunches of miscreants who have been seeking to press him into stopping. Over my dead body. So please, there are several of us who have resolved that madness in Nigeria will only be normalized over our dead bodies. We will carry no guns, we will throw no stones, but we refuse to normalize evil, and we will not keep quiet. She dead me. We died before we were battered. If we didn't die in the womb, we will never be battered. A day will come when we have to be battered to the next stage. That's what you call death. If it comes, let it come when it comes. But let it be said that we died for truth. That is where that man is standing today, and that's where a lot of us are standing. So those who are in doubt of where they are standing and who think that they can buy their way into the books of history, let them have a rethink. We are here. That's what Peter has done. He has raised an army of those who are willing to die for the truth.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
So, Dele, this is wow. This it's you have spoken. When I asked you the question that I did, I asked you with a measure of despair. I dare say that your response has lifted my spirit. You know, after 18 years of writing a column for different Nigerian papers, I experienced, dejection and something close to despair. But all the years, I've always told people that I'm not optimistic about Nigeria, but I'm always hopeful, because hope is a choice, and I make the choice to be hopeful about Nigeria. Given the objective factors, one cannot claim to be optimistic. But actually, from what you said, there are actually grounds, perhaps, to be optimistic, because more and more Nigerians are choosing to declare what they know to be true. And so I just want to thank you again for the witness that you bear. And I'm going to actually, I was headed out someplace, but I'm going to cancel it and I'll just sit and listen to the rest of your presentation. Thank you very much. I'm a big, big fan.
Thank you very much, sir. You've been most kind. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We're going to let in our audience. We have only, unfortunately, they won't like this, but we have only 22 minutes. He has to leave at 6 p.m. exact. So I will bring you in. If I bring you in, just question, no preaching. I know you like our guests, but just go straight and just a question, please, so that we can get as many as possible. So, Dele, do you want to take one at a time, or you want to take?
What I'll do is I'll try and limit myself to spending not more than 90 seconds in responding to each question. But I think it's best that the questions come one after. Let them come and I answer. I'll be answering each one.
Okay. All right. So, Michael, welcome to the show. Your question for Rotimi. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
thank you.
You know what I did here now.
No, no. Thank you. Okay, bye, Dalo. Dele, I'm one of your fans. You know, I admire you so much. The truth will always win. That's all I've gotten from you. The truth will always win, no matter how
Always.
long. Thank
Always.
you. Thank you for being who you are. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's it. I guess you don't have a question. Thank you, Michael. I'll take you out and bring in Ovia. You are next. Where is Ovia? Oh, hold on.
See you.
Ovia, you are next.
Why you? What have I done? Anyway, I was saying thank you for giving Dele Farotimi his flower while he's still alive. When I mean flower, I mean giving his due credit and all that. And I think he appreciates it very well. Let me just go straight to the point, Mr. Dele Farotimi. I read your book and I read it over and over again, talking about do not die in their war. I will appreciate it if you share a little bit of light on it because you propose in that book how a president should emerge through the Council of Elders. So I want you to share light a little bit on that. But my major question here is that for the past 1 hour, when you were having a interaction with a Rudolph, as you rightly put it, I have this sense that you, or the fact that you divide Nigeria into two groups. One you classify as the ruling class, just to use your words, and the everyday Nigerian. And in the past 1 hour, you focus on highlighting the ills of the ruling class and how the ordinary Nigerian can't keep reacting. That's the word. We cannot keep reacting. So my question is that what is the solution? What do we ordinary people do? What do we do that now that we've seen it all? We've seen pretty much everything that they can do. So what is the way forward for us?
You've asked more or less 2 questions in all.
Yes.
So here is the thing. One, if you look through my proposals in the book, the Council of Elders and the president that is supposed to emerge, you agree with me that the president has conceived in that constitution is radically different from the monster that you currently have sitting in Aso Rock. I'm not talking about the person of Tinubu now. I'm talking about the powers and even the structure of governance. The president to which you refer is essentially a completely ceremonial office. So if I'm saying Council of Elders, it was more or less a recreation of the old House of Chiefs that existed in the First Republic, which was the last time Nigerians sat together as one to agree how to be governed. So it is a rehash of the olden times. So, but don't let me belabor that, but don't confuse the terms. It's not the same kind of president. It's a ceremonial presidency that I was referring to in the book. That's one. Second thing that you refer to, the place of the citizens. Now, I have talked about the Nigerian ruling class at length because it is important to identify them for the victims, who you prefer to label citizens. Those are actually victims. Me and you, we are either witting or unwitting victims of Nigeria. So, what I have proposed for the victims of Nigeria is relentless education so that they come to the point where they can tell that the persons showing them their supposed enemies are actually their true enemies. I have actually also gone beyond that to point out that the problem with Nigeria is not about personnel and personnel changes. Not even Peter Obi could have done anything and he still can't do anything on his own without changing the structure and the ideas behind the structures and systems of governance. The idea behind governance in Nigeria is feudalistic in its instincts and intentions. And feudalism is not accommodating of the rule of law or citizenship. I have sought to make this connection severally. So the people themselves, their own place cannot be taken until they come to the knowledge of the fact that the Igbo, the Yoruba, the Fulani, the Jaws, everybody who are trapped in Nigeria are actually victims of Nigeria once they're outside of the ruling class. That knowledge is central to any change that might take place. It is only when sufficient numbers, a critical mass, has come to the knowledge of that truth. That might take a year, it might take 10, it might be the death of some of us, or after the death of some of us, that people will begin to come to the knowledge of these truths. But this knowledge has to go forth before the central idea that undergirds this evil system can be exposed. It is only then that the Igbo man that is agitating for Biafra will be able to see that Oji Uzo Kalu and all the other Igbo men and women in Gige, Ofo, all of them who are benefiting from this system do not want the Biafra that you are seeking. And until you have dealt with the centrality of the evils of Nigeria, you cannot resolve the night. So I've taken more time than I planned to. However, you cannot excuse the Nigerian people from the complicities in this evil, and I have never done so. I have focused on helping them to identify their true enemies, but I know that several other persons are also focused on harnessing the unity that is emerging, and they are thinking of doing things with it. I am also in the course of thinking, and I don't want to speak until I am done thinking. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that answer, and thank you, Ovie, for that. We're running out of time, so when you come in, please, one question only. Find the best of your question. It's unfortunate he won't stay long, but he promised that he will come back again. So find the best of your question and ask that question. I'm going to bring you in. Show, you can bring yourself in. Come on, come in and then ask your question. Show. Show is one of our moderators here. Show, are you there? I know you are trying to come in. If not, I'll bring Forefathers. Forefathers, turn on your camera. Show, okay, Show is here. Show, go ahead.
Yes, I've actually got no question. I was just helping with the moderation. But
Okay.
it's a it's a privilege to speak to you, Edmond Dele Farotimi. Really appreciate your work. Thank you for all that you do. Some of us actually, do appreciate what you do. And it's an opportunity to show the people who think I'm not an Omoluabi, that I'm a proper Omoluabi. When I see my elders, I paid you respect. So thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you.
So you have a question or no? Should I move to someone else? You don't have a question for him? All right, he's gone. CM, welcome to the show. CM, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Rudolph. I don't really have a question. I only have three things to say. Number one, Dele Farotimi, thank you very much for what you do, for who you are. And like Professor Ndibe said, your constancy, your consistency, and more importantly, the courage and boldness to say what you are saying, not minding the danger. Secondly, I will say thank you from the bottom of my heart. Long may you live. And finally, thank you again. May God bless you and keep you long. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, CM. Mr. James from Gambia, you're next.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, we can
Loud
hear you.
and clear.
Good. The South African writer Alan Paton concluded his book, Pride, the Beloved Country, with a sentence. The people of South Africa, they were living in the fear of bondage and the bondage of fear. And that is the situation we find ourselves today. Now, why are we reluctant to go the revolutionary path? Because there can never be a change without a revolution, although not all revolutions bring about the desired changes. That's the question.
There is an ongoing revolution in Nigeria, and a lot of people are sleeping through it. But
Maybe
there is
I'm
a
also
revolution
sleeping.
going on in Nigeria.
Maybe I'm sleeping.
No, sometimes it is very easy to miss the tree because of the forest. It might be that we are nearing a point of crystallization, which has not happened, but that there isn't a revolution in motion right now. it means that we are missing what is already obvious. In the last 24 years, it has never happened that the judiciary is under the kind of microscope under which it is currently existing. In the last 24 years, it has never happened that the people are as awakened or quickened as they are today. The system is already defeated. It is merely trying to make a zombie out of itself, and that is why you have this level of impunity required to keep it alive. That is a sign of how badly bruised it is. I'm not suggesting that we are anywhere close to a resolution, but one thing you can take for granted is that the age of silence in deodorization of evil has ended. The capacity of the Nigerian state to shape the narrative is lost. The people are telling their own stories in a way that they were unable to tell it before now. And we are normalizing demanding answers from the system. We've gotten to a point now. I was in a meeting earlier today, and we agreed, all of us in the meeting, we agreed that the best we have managed to do is to respond to an evil system. And in responding, we have bruised his noses, but we've not managed to defeat it, and he's not dead. He's nowhere near dead. But what is a revolution? It means a turnaround. Nigeria has never been closer to a turnaround in the last 30 years. The last time we were this close was in 1993. I was old enough to know what transpired in 1993, and I say it without equivocation that since 1993 we have not come any closer than we are in this moment. Now, why did we lose it in 1993? We ignored to focus on the true evil, which is the idea undergirding the system, the evil idea behind Nigeria. Nigeria is a blessed country, but the idea that has instructed the design of its governance systems is evil. We've never called out that idea. We are calling it out now, and the people are challenging it. So yes, I know that I would like to see that revolution happen like yesterday, at least crystallized and resolved. But I am a student of history, and I know that there are times when the actual event that led to the end of empires might happen maybe even 50 years before the eventual collapse of the empire. The hubris of the Nigerian ruining class has already killed this system. It's only a matter of time. It's just a matter of time. The American empire did not end yesterday. It ended the day it invaded Iraq. So I'm hopeful, and I believe that we would also see the end of this system.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much indeed.
Igbo Basics. We have less than 8 minutes. So Igbo Basics, quickly, your questions so that I can get a few more people in before he goes. Go ahead.
Yes, Dele, my brother, well done. I just have a couple of things to say.
Not a couple, please. One question. So that
yeah, that's one question. I have one question.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to present to you, Dele. I'm sure you.
What do you all give me?
This is what I'm presenting to you. It's called Person Debate. Will expand on that. Today is Sunday. That's what we bring. Then I will also give you this. I'm sure you understand this one.
I understand, sir.
With that said, I see we have similarities because you are student government activists from the much I understand your student days, student government president or something.
I was the president of the union, 94, okay. 95 session.
Okay. I was a vice president of student government at the University of Arkansas, Pine Bluff, 1981. And sometimes it takes an external force to effect a change. As a result of that, Black Americans were afraid of Chancellor Herman B. Smith. But because I was an external force, Didn't make no difference to me. We did what we had to do. In 7 days, Chancellor Herman B. Smith resigned. That's on record. That's our similarities there. So we have something in common. Olu Ogundipe disowned the country. He's an artist. He was our guest on this channel. Professor Obi Nwakama came here and posited that the justices might validate falsehood in order not to sink the rock. That's what I extracted from his presentation here. And Professor Ntebe have pretty much spoken majority of my mind. So I'll say, and if the tribunal and the Supreme Court decides contrary to the truth of February 25, 2023, what is the recourse to the likes of us who seek to implement the truth without abandoning the country? Is there a way to weave a basket of old student activists who are still out there?
Well, let me say this first. One of the first things we lost in Nigeria with the emergence of Tinubu, and I'm not talking about his fraudulent emergence as the president-elect. I'm saying on the political scene, especially because of the centrality of Lagos. Tinubu has done a lot to destroy what used to be the conscious layer of the Nigerian people, whether that be in the press, the human rights community, the bulk of the people who used to demand an account from the system have been hopelessly compromised over the last 20 years or thereabout. If you look at the fact that in 2011, 2012, they could organize the jamborees, they organized at Ojota and at Falomo and all over the country. And today, the people who organize those jamborees are the ones that are sat, even the people who participated and helped to organize it in the field, they're the ones busy legitimizing the evil that you are seeing in Nigeria today. So those who used to ask questions have stopped asking questions. So to expect a network of some activists somewhere, there are still genuine men and women out there, but we don't have those kind of people anymore. What we have today, which we didn't have before, is an energized movement that is determined to change the Nigerian narrative. We didn't have that before. We have that now. Without allowing the press to bring cameras into the court, this election petition tribunal is the one that has been most reported, most followed. It's almost as if you are physically present in the tribunal. That is how much interest the people have. So you see a movement galvanized, you see a people being readied. That has never existed in our space. So that has come up now. It wasn't there before. That movement is asking questions of itself. What happens after the Court of Appeal? What happens after the tribunal? What happens if the Supreme Court validates this evil? Several questions are being asked. People are profiling alternative solutions. A lot of people have different things to say, and I am of the opinion anyway that we have come to the point where we should embrace any opportunity to confront this system, as long as we make a point of making clear to ourselves violence, we achieve nothing. This system is hoping that we present ourselves as sacrifices for it to normalize its ascension to the throne of evil. We must not give it the opportunity to do that. But we must be conscientious and very deliberate in confronting it with the truth and in making sure that the people do not accept this evil as normal. Every layer of resistance that can be activated should definitely be activated and encouraged as long as it eschews violence. Let me be clear. Just because I say that I'm not going to bite the dog does not mean that the dog will not attempt to bite me. So I'm not suggesting that people should not take precautions to avoid becoming victims to a murderous system that has no problem with killing his own. However, we must be deliberate in forsaking violence so that we do not legitimize its use against ourselves. But to think that some justices somewhere will sit down and just tell us abracadabra and you would have a Lawan situation, that's some wishful thinking. There will be conscious and deliberate refusal to accept injustice. And I will encourage it. So help me God.
Thank you.
Your voice is gone, Rudolph.
You muted yourself.
You are mute. Only you are hearing you.
Technical hitches. While he's struggling to get himself back online, Dele, I am an obedient in New Jersey, working with the Foundation Democracy Initiative, which I organize. I head that group from here.
All right. So can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Okay, good.
Now we can't even see you.
So Dele, unless you want to spare just 1 minute or two, forefathers and scribe, please. It's a chance to talk, please.
Greetings, Rudolph, and special greetings to the respected guests. There's an echo.
Okay, go ahead.
There's still an echo.
I think it's from Rudolph's end.
Yes, it's from my end. I will resolve it now.
Have they had you?
You can just mute your mic. All right. Yeah, my question was about, given that from my point of view, our leaders appear to be compromised leaders that seem to be acting like caretaker governments that don't want to rule the country as a sovereign nation. And in other words, they are not ambitious for us. They are not looking to actually build a strong nation, which clearly we know that we are capable of doing all kinds of things when we leave the country. What do you think it would take for Nigerians, home and abroad, to decouple their leaders from the people that they serve? You mentioned it yourself that they go, for healthcare treatment and all the stuff that they do. They seem to be beholden to outside interests, not wanting to build our nation for what it truly is. And as an independent nation that is proud to project itself in the world. So what do you think it would take for us to decouple them from these foreign interests?
Look, in April, May, I was in the US. I spent the bulk of my time in Atlanta. And for me, every time I went out, I had to use a particular freeway into downtown Atlanta. And on this road, there are some interchange, so those bridges that crosses to the other side. And it struck me that one of the worst things that have befallen us as a people is not that we are ruled by corrupt people governed by impunity. No, that's not our true tragedy. The true tragedy is the fact that we are ruled by men who are devoid of imagination. They have no imagination at all. They can't envision anything. And the word you used, compromised leaders. To lead, you have to have a destination in mind, to which the people you are even leading might not have, they might have no idea of where the place is. That's why you are leading them. If they knew, they wouldn't need you to lead them there. The people who are ruining Nigeria have no capacity for leadership because they have no capacity for imagination and they have no capacity for envisioning. This loss of capacity is the major problem with Nigeria. So the idea of Nigeria is a perversion. Those who rule Nigeria only think about what to eat, what to drink, who to sleep with, what bags to carry, where to. They don't think about what to do for the people. North Korea, you can call them a dictatorship, but they have a nuclear weapon. That is what they applied themselves to. Dubai, the Emirates. Nigerians go there routinely these days. Look at what they've done. That's the power of vision. So these people, anyone waiting for them is waiting for Godot. Nothing good will ever come out of the Nigerian ruining crash. They are incapable of delivering anything good because the idea governing their exertion is perverse. It is incapable of doing good, even when it intends to do good. There are good men and women who are trapped in the system. Even when they do good, it is always episodic. It does not endure because the system itself, the governance systems are designed for evil. They are designed to extract value from the people, to exploit them. So if you want to change Nigeria in any way, you are going to have to focus on the people themselves, embracing the idea of a different path. Looking to the current system or the ruining crash or thinking they can offer leadership of any sort. Why is it that they can't even think of make electricity steady in the country? That basic thing. Tinubu has been building Lagos for the last 24 years. The Blue Rail Line, 16 years. They can't deliver that. Lekki Epe Expressway, they've been building it for the last 14, 15 years. They've not finished building it. There are potholes all over it already. That is the kind of idea behind the exertions in governance in Nigeria. So to look to this system to deliver any hope or redemption is a stupid, most asinine thought. So anyone who is interested in changing Nigeria, look to the people and look to building new systems based on ideas that are found on vision. That's my belief.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you are over time, so it's all right.
We're over by
Quick
5 minutes. So
quick one.
He has to go.
Dele, please. You will like this one. Seriously, please.
Thank you, Mr. Dele Farotimi.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. My question is centered around Kwame Nkrumah's book that is Revolutionary Warfare. There's a quote there that says, "You can measure the degree of the tendency of revolution by the degree of political awareness of the women, or somewhat of the downtrodden and things like that." And in the recent political history of Nigeria, we've seen the rise, everything that you've been part of. My question to you, and this is a Nigeria that clearly benefited from the abdication of the Alake of Egbaland and many other women-led things. And I review the obedient movement, and I'm like, I don't see that energy. In order to see, in order to kind of say, like, to match it to the march to independence. So would you agree with me in this, sort of like idea that I have, that maybe there was that maybe inclusion of women, or what I mean, like a lot of the women to sort of like shadow what happened prior to independence? Would that have been maybe something that would have helped a little bit in the obedient movement? Because to me, the obedient movement seems like NSAS 2.0.
Let me tell you this, my brother. Remember when the question was asked, I said, you are witnessing a revolution in slow motion. There is one happening before our very before. In that movement, you have an Aisha Yusuf. In that movement, you have a Rino Douala. In that movement, you have a DJ Switch. You have multiple persons who are acting in different spheres. Most of these people, they don't know anything called Labour Party. Some of them have never canvassed anyone for political office, but they are working in different strata, seeking to awaken the consciousness of the people. What has not happened, which I agree with you completely on, is that there hasn't been a conscious and deliberate attempt at organizing women at the grassroots level into viable political units that are then capable of speaking. If you have cells at the grassroots level, at the market levels, like the ones that you'll be referring to, then it will become more evident because they can then speak more in concert, if you may. However, I think it will be misleading to think that this does not exist already. What is missing is organization. I'll show you something that is missing in the lies of INEC in Lagos State. People can go and verify this on their own, look beyond anything that Labour Party is giving you, go to any independent observer of the last election. On the 25th of February in Lagos State, Tinubu lost in every local government in this state, in spite of the fact that market women were routinely forced out into the street to come to his campaigns, in spite of the fact that the trade unions, and I'm talking about trades, as in mechanics, barbers, tailors, all those people down there were forced, systematically forced into expressing support for him. Danfos, Keke, they had to paste his poster and everything on their cars and their Kekes. He still lost. The figures that we have in our situation room suggested that the man received less than 15% of the votes in Lagos State. He lost. This couldn't have been possible without these women supporting the candidacy of Peter Obi, for whom they voted in record numbers in Lagos. So we should be careful about how we extrapolate some of the figures and the imageries that we'll take out of this electoral cycle. I'm not suggesting that we are where we should be. We are nowhere near, but we are not where we used to be. And the future is much brighter than it has ever been in terms of building revolutionary consensus in the Nigerian space. Thank you.
Dele, thank
With
you.
these few words of mine, I hope I have managed to confuse or
much.
convince you. So
no, you always deliver come to Jesus moments. That's your specialty. So
Rudolph, can I greet him? Can I greet Dele before you go, please? Can I greet him?
Dele, thank you so much. Yeah, Henry, greet him. I know you're a big fan. I understand. He understands that.
Dele, thank you for everything you're doing. Thank you for standing for the truth. Thank you for fighting for the truth. Thank you. Stay strong. We're going to get our mandate. We're going to make that country big. We're not going nowhere. We're going to make that country great again. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, everyone. God bless you.
Thank you, Dele. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So we're we have okay, we hang out. Okay, are you hanging in here for a while? Are you
I'm
going
trying to get out too?
Oh, you're trying to get. Let me let you out. Okay. All right. Good. Okay. So okay. Don't run. Just. All right. Okay. I think we're back. Sorry for everybody who didn't get a chance. I'm really sorry. He couldn't do more than the time. We went over by probably how many minutes? 12 minutes. He had to be somewhere else. But he promised to come back. I will make sure that he comes back. I will hold him to that.
Mr. Rudolph,
yeah.
When he come back next time, those guys who say something before he left, they should not come back first now. So mark it now.
If I remember who they are. I totally support you. I totally support you, Henry. That's what I was gonna say. Forefathers, scribe, they will not ask any question. Even though they will not ask any question.
We'll get them out, yeah. But we have okay here. So can you guys interrogate okay on for a minute? I know you have to go. I want, because okay has a podcast and he wrote. Okay, go ahead. Who wants to take on okay first?
Wait. I have a request. Mr. Okay, this is my second time encountering. I've been following your publication too. I'm extending an invitation to you. Will you be a guest on my platform?
I will come.
Your platform, we don't need to go there. Don't need to go to the.
Okay, we'll come.
Henry, intelligent people are having conversations. Shut up.
All right. So let me go to Austin.
Rudolph, you answer me yes. I will get a contact from you later.
Yeah, you talk to me later. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, Austin.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Austin, go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Rudolph. Thank you, Prof. Thank you for being here. Like when I listened to Dele Farotimi, before I started listening to him, I listened to Makobia on Arise News this morning and switched over to Dele Farotimi. It has been a delightful day. I can't but remember the words of this oppressed woman in the Gospel of Luke 11:27 that says, when Jesus had finished speaking, he said, blessed is the womb that bore you and the breast that you suck. I am so glad that we have voices coming up. And that reminds me of what Luther said. He said, the oppressed people cannot remain oppressed forever. The yearning for freedom eventually manifests itself. So if we can continue raising these voices, if anyone thinks that what we do here, what these wonderful people are doing, are wasting of their time. I mean, no one is great more when he is alive than when he died. People like you, Prof, people like people like Dele, people like Wako, they don't know what they are doing to humanity now. Because one day people will say, yes, all of you spoke in support of these people, but these people were outstanding. But I have a problem listening to Luther again when he said, injustice anywhere is a threat for justice everywhere. Would there be a time in Nigeria that somebody will come to tell us and say, I mean, the finality of the Supreme Court is a challenge to me. Because if the Pope could go to Canada and kneel down and say, we are sorry for what we did to you people, and he is going around apologizing, would there be a time that the Supreme Court of Nigeria will tell us that what we did with Hope Uzodinma, what we did with Akpabio, what we did with Lawal Chawan, we are sorry for what we did with this list? Thank you.
All right, thank you.
God.
Okay. That's for you. Unmute yourself. For those who do not know, I've been inviting to come back since. So today I caught him, So
you're wangling it. So
thank God he has cancelled his appointment, so he has no excuse now. He's going to be
okay. So what I'm going to do, Rudolph, is to make a commitment to come to your show. All right. Maybe within the next month.
Okay, good.
But Femi's presentation today has been so extraordinary that I really would not want to. For me, it will spoil it. Femi spoke poignantly, eloquently, and with concision. And I think that we should honor what he brought to the table and that we should reflect on it. So I have all kinds of thoughts, right? But I really am aglow with pride to have listened to Femi's presentation. I had a commitment, but I started listening to Femi and I felt that what he was saying was so important. So that's what I'm going to urge, that all of us reflect on what Femi said, that Rudolph, I know you've been trying to sneak me in, right? So what I'll do is that in front of all these honorable men and women, I'm making a commitment that in the next month I have some trips happening, but once I come back, I'll come to your show and spend an hour or two with Henry and Augustine and Prince and Mazi. And so Mazi, I'll come to your show as I committed, yeah. So if you don't mind, so it's Femi really should own today. He was great at what he did, and I'd like to leave it there.
I agree.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate you, okay? But not only 1 hour or 2 hours, it's gonna be 3 good hours.
I'll make it 3 hours and 3 minutes. How about that?
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. You can, if you can find your way out, then you can. If not.
All right. So please, gentlemen and women, let's keep our spirits up. We don't know what the tribunals are going to determine, but I think that Dele has charted for me a path that we should all adopt, which is the truth is important. And if the justices proclaim what is not true, we should be stubborn in our proclamation of what is true. We know that Tinubu did not win the election. They've always been one to support. It's years ago, right? When the PDP rigged Ngige in as the governor of Anambra State, for example. Ngige was a friend of mine. I did not know who Peter Obi was, but everybody told me that Peter Obi won that election. And so I became persistent in, first of all, encouraging Peter Obi not to relent in pursuit of the reclamation of his mandate. And Ngige was sending mutual friends to me to plead with me, but I said, you did not win the election. I could not fight, I could not become an accessory to impunity and to fraud. And so it's the same situation when Yaradua was imposed. He himself agreed that the election was irregular, but he claimed that he would still have won had the election been free and fair and credible. And so I made a principled position that I was never going to call Yaradua President Yaradua. So I called him resident of Aso Rock because he lived there. I would call him usurper, but I never called him president in one day. And I think that that's the kind of position that at minimum Nigerians should begin to take. If the courts, in defiance of the facts, declare that Tinubu was properly elected, which we know is a falsehood, then we should withhold from him that honorific of president. Just on a very personal level, when we write about him, we should indicate that this man is usurped the office. But anyway, so I'll come at some other point within a month, and I'll spend 3 hours and 3 minutes.
Hmm?
All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you so much. All right.
Okay. Take care.
No,
Okay, bye.
she won't. She knows.
So what we're going to do now is we are going to allow those that
She
didn't
knows
get
we are.
to ask questions to be able to tell us what they wanted to ask if they had the opportunity. Let me start with you. Henry. Oh, Henry said hi. That was what he wanted to say. He said hi. Austin. Austin, what was the question?
I don't have a question for him because he's doing the right thing. I don't have a question to give. I don't have a question for him either because he's doing the right thing. Yeah.
All right. Austin, what was the question you had in mind when you were trying to talk to Dele? Austin, you can hear me. All right, let's go to Prince.
For me, I was gonna ask him what his impression is about our traditional rulers, because it seems that most of them go to Aso Rock right now, and we all know what it entails. It means that definitely, while they are sitting in the in the office talking, something is going on in the trunks, or some promises some deal are being made. Which I believe that if they have nothing to hide, why all these meetings and meetings and meetings? At least they should be able to respect that office and know that they are non-partisan, and they should, instead of siding one part or whatever it is, they should remain neutral in all, in anything about politics. That's why I just wanted to ask him about his impression there. That's all.
All right, thank you. If you have somebody, there's a radio playing somewhere. Okay, Ed, you're next.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Rudolph. My question is actually about the current litigation. I've had the opportunity to look at the final address. I'm not a lawyer, full disclosure, but it seems to me that the prayers that Mr. Peter Obi and the Labour Party, whom I support, their prayers seem to be centered around two issues. First, that Tinubu is not qualified, so they advance the case of his certificates, the issue he had with the Chicago courts, the heroin trafficking thing. And then the second prayers was that the election was not carried out within the within the ambits of what is expected, or like the regulations that INEC set by themselves. So I really did not see where they're arguing for him to be declared as the president. So I'm trying to like look at those two prayers. So should there be a case where maybe the judge rules favorably with respect to Tinubu being disqualified? That means that the next highest vote getter, who is Atiku, might be sworn in, because there was no litigation from Peter Obi to Atiku. And then in the case that the judge says, let's void the election because there is a lot of irregularities, that means we have to do a rerun. So I'm just wondering, in which of these situations will the mandate be restored to Peter Obi, as so many people are expecting, and what is the Labour Party, which he represents, doing to manage people's expectations? So I'm not a lawyer. I just need like a clarification on these issues.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, it would have been very important, because we wanted to talk about whether there will be another election should the Supreme Court say, are they preparing? There are some indications that the Labour Party is also preparing for a rerun, something like that. So we couldn't get to so many questions because of the time constraint, but he will come back and hopefully very soon.
Can I answer this, brother? Just okay. 1 minute. Can I answer?
Go ahead.
You see, okay, if they have to disqualify Tinubu, Atiku did not have the requirement to become president, because they don't have the 25% either. The solo Obi will have it, so they can declare Obi the president. That's it. Thank you.
All right. Ike San Antonio. I'll come back to you, Sam. I just want to do what
that's been ready for pickup.
Dr. Jackery in damages. I thought you went to Nook in the last 2 weeks, but thank you for bringing somebody like Dele. Dele is a man of the truth. I think one of my concerns for Dele is his life, because Nigeria doesn't like the truth, especially the politicians. The question I would have asked him is that 20 years from now, there will be no Tinubu. There will be no, I'm not God. But 20 years from now, all these people that are in court might not be alive. But a child that was born today will be 20 years from now. What is his hope? Where do we go 20 years? If we open the crystal ball 20 years from now, where would Nigeria be? That is my question, because all these people will pass away in the next 20 years. I'm not God, though. I don't play one in the TV. But all of them will not make it if you add what they are now. But where do we go? The kids that I have, that will be 20 years from now. The kids that you have, 20 years, your grandchildren, the people that will be grandpa by then. Where do we go? How can Nigeria withstand what is happening now? That is the question I wanted to ask him.
Very good question. Nigerman.
And by the way, next time put me on the line, because I came in on time.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right. I didn't know how we did that. Yeah, go ahead, Nigerman.
Yeah, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Great. I wanted to ask Mr. Dele Farotimi, but he's left. No problem. I just want to ask him about it, because I read this morning, Tinubu saying that they should declare him an Atiku if they for a rerun. So, because according to the Constitution of the Electoral Acts, because if it said when there is a second election, the first highest number of votes and the highest number of states, because Atiku said Atiku have, according to INEC, Atiku have 19 states, and Labour Party have we have 16 states. Because if you look at the highest number of states, Obi have more number in states than Atiku. Atiku may have 25%, but in the way Obi win in his majority of the states, he have highest number of the total votes cast. So automatically it's supposed to be within Obi and Atiku. But I don't know why APC now nobody said they should declare in. But that is, the own way of what he says is not the law. But that is what I was just wondering. Why will you now be dragging Atiku? Is there, because all these people, you don't understand their plan. Because they will just throw something in the media to confuse people. Because normal, according to the constitution, supposed to be who are the highest number. Because maybe like in the states now, you win with maybe they are cast 200,000 votes. You have 150. Maybe the other person may have 70,000. So you are the highest in the states. But it's supposed to be the number 1 and the number 3. Because it's only two people that have highest number according to INEC, 8-point-something million, if they want to go for a run. But it's now saying that they should declare in an article for a rerun. That's what I wanted to ask him. Wow, is there any? How does that come to his own mind?
All right, thank you, Nigerman. Ify.
Good morning.
Yeah, how are you?
To be honest with you, I'm tired of talking about Nigerian part. Honestly speaking, I don't. If you ask me now to ask you a question, I don't.
Mr. Rudo, we are not hearing properly. She has to speak louder. We are not hearing properly, please.
Yeah, Ify, your audio is not very loud.
Can you hear me better?
Yes.
Go ahead. I can hear you, but it's go ahead.
Can you hear me better?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
It's
I'm in a room that is echoing, so that's why. So I said I'm tired of talking about Nigerian politics. I mean, it's not that you are saying something and you're seeing any positive effect of what you are saying. I don't know what else to ask. I don't have any question because I'm tired. There is nothing positive that will ever come out of that country. It's not a question of I rebuke it in Jesus' name. There is nothing to rebuke, but it's a question of reality because that is what is going to happen. So we just have to understand that. I said it here that Buhari, we will be asking for Buhari to come back. People already started asking for Buhari to come back. So this is where we are today. 5 years from now, it's gonna get worse. It's not gonna get no better. So I want everybody to put on their seatbelt. Fasting is so tight because we are about to see Shege Promax in the next few weeks, if not years.
All right, thank you. Mr. J.
Yes, thank you. Let me respond to Mr. Nanjaman, then I return to you two. If the election is adjudged unfair, not credible, and it is annulled, it means that the entire result is not dependable. It's equally annulled. Therefore, all the contestants, I think there are about 16 or so, they have to face the electorate again. They cannot exclude some because the election was annulled and allow others to conduct the first or second or whatever the law is. That is the way I see it. And one unfortunate thing is that whenever we are analyzing these election results, we are using the results, the flawed results, which are not challenging in court. People are saying X won 25%, this is not win Abuja. It is based on the falsified results. If you conduct an experiment with falsified information, the result will also be falsified. We cannot be, it's not dependable. So what they should do is to cancel the entire result. All the 16 or 18 contestants should face the electorate again. I think that is what I have to say. Thank you so much indeed. I'm going back to YouTube.
All right, thank you. Number 6 field.
Yes, good morning. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Damages.
Thank you.
Well, I was extremely satisfied with Dele. I really don't have a question because he attempted the question somewhat. But it's you I wanted to reach, Dr. Damages. How can I reach you?
Just send an email to drdamages@gmail.com.
Okay.
I'll share it with you on the private chat.
Yes, please do. That would be so fine.
All right.
All right, you guys. You guys go on. God bless.